Um, Welcome everyone to Tower Hill. Everyone's come from all different directions by the sound of it, so some of you may be familiar with the area and others perhaps not so familiar. One of the things I like to ask is, if anyone's ever been here before and what people actually know about the area. So I'm not sure, has anyone been here before? Yeah. So we all know it's a nested maar. Wow, very well done. I was going to say a volcano, at least we can speak in those terms. But yes, Tower Hill is a volcano, and what I wanted to talk to you about today is Bill asked me to talk about management issues, but I think for a place like Tower Hill it's actually really worthwhile going right back to when it was a volcano and erupted, because so much of Tower Hill's past impacts on how we manage it and what it is today. So yes, Tower Hill's a nested maar volcano, and the most recent data I have is that it erupted approximately 32,000 years ago, and you can tell by its shape. There's the outer rim, which you would have seen when you came in and you saw the ash layers, and then so that was the original eruption, and then there were subsequent eruptions after that, which is basically the islands that we're standing on now. So whilst there was a lot of steam in the original eruption that created the fine ash layers, the secondary eruptions, there wasn't any steam involved, and so what it was pressurised magma coming out of the ground, which makes the scoria, which is why the scoria is very light and full of air. So that's why we have the hills that we have today, basically. And this area was, if you can try and imagine what it would have been like 30,000 years ago, for example, and there would have been indigenous inhabitants here utilising this area. This area would have been a very viable place for shelter and food, and would have been quite a connection through to the coast. So, whilst I can't speak for country, but I mean, from what I understand, there were indigenous people that lived in these areas and right along the coast permanently. They weren't as sedentary as other populations were because there was such plentiful food. So it would have been a very special place. And then later on, so 1892, Tower Hill became Victoria's first national park, which is probably not a lot of people know really, but was never actually treated as a national park. Was never looked after for its special natural qualities, but was quarried and trees were cut down for timber, for building houses, for railways.
I think I read that it was pretty much pretty.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there's the visitor centre over here, and there's photographs in there. You might like to go in and have a look. But basically, Tower Hill was totally transformed to fairly much a barren landscape because of its volcanic soils. It was highly fertile for farming, for grazing animals. So you can imagine all the native vegetation was cleared, and there would have been a lot of introduced vegetation, grasses, that sort of thing for pasture. So in a very, very short time it was changed, and the government looked at this and thought, we can't really call it a national park anymore, and it wasn't until the 1950s that there was discussion about what do we do with this area, and in 1961 Tower Hill became a state game reserve.